by saying I'm here together with my colleague, Assistant Commissioner Mtim Kulu, on behalf of the Officer Commanding Province, Commissioner Chikunguru, who cannot be around because he has another assignment that also commenced at 10 o'clock. He was scheduled to have made some remarks at the conclusion of this meeting. But nonetheless, Kufakwe Mjoni Kamba Ivaru, so we are moving on. He has tasked us to go ahead with the meeting and deliberate the issues that are at hand. So the main purpose of this meeting is to discuss issues to do with the law enforcement. And I'm generalizing law enforcement because we all are law enforcers in our different capacities and in our different organizations. We carry out law enforcement for different classes of crimes, and maybe we have our different categories. I would then go on to say the Zimbabwe Republic Police is the public policing agency, or if you want, the state law enforcement agency, one of the state law enforcement agencies. But we don't operate in isolation. We also operate with other organizations, private policing, if you want to call it that, or private security as we commonly refer to it. Private policing is an important element of policy because it complements public policy. That is what we are supposed to do, to complement public policing. This is the reason why Detective Inspector Mkanda was emphasizing the need for collaboration, which I will talk about later on in my presentation. The need for cooperation. Private policing complements public policing because private policing focuses attention at narrow organizational levels, whilst public policing is general in nature and looks at the national picture and is also responsible for prosecution of cases in our courts, particularly in the jurisdiction, in our jurisdiction. So let me then say there is really need for us to work together because there is no competition really. Private policing exists purely for business. Because as a public police, we cannot be everywhere. So where we are not available and where we cannot be available, private police will then be taking responsibility. But as they take responsibility, we should also take cognizance of the fact that they may not necessarily have powers then to prosecute cases. I'm saying necessarily because they may opt to have private prosecution or to go the route of private prosecution. But generally, prosecution of cases is then the prison of public police. In other words, when you do your interim or preliminary investigations and when you arrest and when you collect evidence, you then submit to national police for further processes to be undertaken. Now, what legal framework do we use as both private and public police? Obviously, the Constitution, we all have an interest in the Constitution. As public police, our mandate is derived from Section 219 of the Constitution. But that same Constitution then goes further to break down where or who can assist us in terms of executing our tasks. And I want to believe that in that endeavor, Section 219, subsection 2 in brackets B of the Constitution attempts to talk about ancillary services or other bodies that also are responsible for law enforcement. And I want to believe that the role that you play qualifies in that respect. So as we do our work, we have other bodies that can assist us. Of course, there are other statutory bodies that are also mentioned in the Constitution, like the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, mentioned quite distinctly in the Constitution. But there are also other bodies like you that are not mentioned quite distinctly in the Constitution, but who are also responsible for law enforcement. So for that, or to that extent, it is necessary for us to continuously exchange ideas, share information, exchange notes, improve the situation. I'm going to talk about why it is important for us to share information, why it is important for us to exchange ideas. Because the criminal has become sophisticated. Policing necessarily has to be equally sophisticated. And the exchange of information can therefore not be something that needs overemphasis. We just cannot operate in silos. We just have to work together, cooperate, and ensure everything is done to satisfy the generality of the public and also to satisfy the business entities that we represent. Because private policing exists for business, for profitability. For you to be able to attract business, there is need for you to be professional in whatever you do. There is need for you to limit or to reduce the amount of loss that companies can experience. And this is the reason why private security is then, I'll use the word for want of a better word, outsourced. Private security is outsourced by companies because ordinarily the duty to protect property lies with the police. So where we fail, companies then outsource private security. Therefore, you need to remain in business. For you to be continuously outsourced by companies, you then need to remain professional, competent, and ensure that companies don't experience any losses. And for you not to, for companies not to experience any losses, there is need for synergy between public police and private police. And those synergies can only be built if we continuously have meetings and share information and compare notes. Now, we converge, or there's this convergence because obviously we all have an interest. We have an interest. We have an obligation, a constitutional obligation to fulfill. We have a business obligation to fulfill. So we all have an interest. and our interest is crime. As a national police agency or as a national law enforcement agency, our business is to prevent crime. And as a private police agency, your business is to prevent crime. It could be a particular crime within your organization, but still it is prevention of crime. For that reason, we are doing the same thing. The only difference is you are confining yourself to a particular organization, and the police is looking at it at national level. Now, why is it important for us to discuss these issues? Let me contextualize it, and I'll contextualize it by looking at the crime situation, particularly looking at the crime that we are interested in. We are focusing our attention particularly to the crime of armed robbery. It could be armed robbery using firearms or armed robbery using other weapons that are not necessarily firearms. I have statistics that I want to share with you here. We are making a comparison of the period extending from January to October 2023 and the same period extending from January to October 2024. I'll look at the total number of cases that were received. Then I'll also look at the cases that were guarded by security personnel from different security organizations for 2023 and then for 2024. In the period January to October 2023, the province received a total of 466 robbery cases using firearms. And if we compare that same period with what is already obtained this year, we have so far received 644 cases. Robbery cases using firearms. Now, of these cases that I have mentioned, in 2023, premises which were robbed using firearms, where there were security personnel, were 57. There were 57 cases, and those have so far risen to 106. So to date, as of October, we now have 106 cases of robbery cases using firearms where security personnel are guarding. It is a cause for concern. My mental calculation here tells me it's closer to 50% increase. I think a few figures short of 50%, if my memory, if my arithmetic is correct. Maybe somebody is calculating. It's 100%. It's over 100% increase. And if we are not worried about that, then nothing will worry us. Nothing will worry us. Is it good for business? Obviously, the answer is no. Is it good for the public? Obviously, the answer is no. So if it is not good for business, it is not good for the public. So what should we do as security personnel? What should we do as both private and public policy? So those are the answers, the questions that we need to address, the questions that we need to unpack and look at from a holistic perspective, and look at how best we can then confront this situation. The total number of cases that were received in 2023 for robbery without a firearm or with other weapons. In 2023, we had 1,073. And so far to date, we have 973. A slight decrease. But what is worrisome is a situation of robbery using other weapons that took place at premises where there were security personnel. In 2023, only 31 cases were received. And as of October this year, we have received 46. Again, that's an increase. Now, the moment we allow people to commit offenses using firearms and nothing happens, we are breeding a horrible situation that might be very difficult for us to control. It's a situation that may be very, very, very difficult for us to control. And therefore, like I've indicated, we cannot and we should not allow this situation to continue. It's a situation that we need to address, and we need to address it together. So, what have we observed? Our observation is that there appears to be serious communication gaps between private security or private police and public police. Serious communication gaps. Serious communication gaps. I will just put this into context for the purposes of clarity. When I joined the organization some 3 decades ago, I used to know that there was an alarm system at Mtare Central and for safeguard, an alarm system at the same station for guard alert, an alarm system at the same premises for faucets. Those were the main or the biggest companies there. They used to have an alarm system which used to alert the police, and we used to know that this alarm is for safeguard, this one is for faucet, this one is for this company. What has happened? What has happened? Tony, maybe what I'm saying, you vouch for it, eh? Ramangezi, he knows what I'm talking about. They know what I'm talking about. They know what I'm talking about. Those issues are non-existent. They are no longer present. Now, the security companies have gone on to improve themselves. They have rapid response teams, which is good for business. Rapid response teams. So ordinarily, when you have a rapid response team, then you expect the team to go and attend to the situation and quell the situation. But unfortunately, what is transpiring now is that we have 2, 3, 4 rapid response teams that get captured as well. But even as the 4th team is captured, the police are not notified. Obviously, the companies have placed confidence in the private police, But can we conclude that they've lost confidence in public police? I don't think so. I don't think so. They are simply enhancing security at their companies. Because at the end of the day, where there's a robbery at a company, at a premises, the company would still want prosecution where the accused persons are arrested. And that prosecution becomes the preserve of the police with our homicide team. So there is need